Today we have a 2015 Mazda 3. We're replacing the lower control arm, so let's get this wheel off and get started. Okay guys, it's going to be a very straightforward job, very easy here. We're only going to be removing 4 bolts, 1 nut. Over here where the ball joint is number 14, just a bolt and a nut on each side. Just go ahead and hold wrench on one end, ratchet on the other. Go ahead and remove that. Number 19 here, as well as 2 19s here. These 2 bolts, you can't really mix up, one's longer, one's shorter. That's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get these all removed and start getting this busted down. So started off removing that bolt and nut here. Now what I'm going to do is just hit the side of it just to, shock it out with the hammer. You can also use a punch to kind of split this. Don't really recommend that too much because if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually break this. So pretty much you just want to hit it just to shake it up a little bit, just to loosen that ball joint out of here. Once we do that, we can get back to these sides here and get all that removed. So this side wants to be a little stubborn today. What I'm going to go ahead and do first is go ahead and just remove all this here. Pry bar, swing it outward, just being careful with the axle. You can remove the axle nut if you want to help relieve it, but it won't be much help because it'll just pretty much stay around. So we'll pretty much loosen all this up so it kind of relieves tension on this area here, and then we can hit it down, let it release. So I've removed all the bolts. These 2 back here, the 1 up there, and now I'm just gonna get a pry bar and just kind of wiggle it out. Be careful with the axle. You don't want it to separate out of here. I mean, if you do, if it happens, it's not too hard, it's just kind of a nuisance to get back in. But just be careful with it. You don't want to put too much strain on that axle area. So I'm just gonna keep prying this out. Once this all pries out, it'll pretty much relieve all tension from this ball joint area here. We can just strike it out real quick. Even now I could possibly do it. I might do so when I get off camera, but let's just see what happens from here. So I haven't fully removed it yet. I went ahead and just striked it just a bit, kind of knocked it down loose a little. Also kind of hit the control arm itself downward. It's starting to come out. I didn't want to finish doing that until I showed you on camera that you can just go ahead and do it that way instead of shoving a punch down here or something and trying to spread it out. I mean, that would be easier, but just to prevent any damage, if you don't know how to do it, don't do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just strike it down completely, and then from there I can just pull it all out. All right, ball joint removed, all loose. I'm just gonna yank this out with my pry bar and slide the next one in. Pretty much going inward here, as well as into the slot down here, just kind of maneuvering around, and then we're gonna tighten everything. So I have the new control arm here. I'm gonna start off by sliding it into the slot here in the front. And then from there, we're gonna manipulate it, get this side in here, and then try to get our ball joint in. We might have to push the ball joint over to angle it correctly. And then once that's in, we're gonna jack this up a little bit, the suspension here a little bit, into a relaxed state, because you can see from this bushing here, it doesn't really rotate, at least I don't believe so. Yeah, it doesn't rotate freely, so we're gonna have to make sure we put this in a relaxed state so that we don't put too much pressure on this when we bring the vehicle back down. So let's go ahead and get all this slide in and then get ready to tighten all this down. All right guys, so I slid that portion first, slid this in afterwards, moved the ball joint over at an angle so that you can see it kind of goes straight in. So all we gotta do is basically manipulate this in, just kind of wiggle it around, maybe put a T-bar under here just to get it pushed in there. And then once I get all that in, we're gonna get ready to tighten everything down. Now, as I was saying earlier, we want to get this control arm into a relaxed state. Now, this portion I thought about a little bit, might not be too much of a problem just because of the way it's designed. We're not bolting directly at the bushings here. We're doing the side thing. It might matter a little bit, but mainly this front one here is the one that's going to matter. The bushings inside, the center part doesn't move, so that we're going to want to put this in a relaxed state before tightening this bolt down here. Which the way I'm doing so is by putting a T-bar on here just to kind of bring the control arm upward until basically, I hate to do it like this, but this is normally how I do it, until the car literally is slightly above this here. That basically tells me the car is simulating being on the ground with this wheel, so that's pretty much how we want it to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this down, tighten all this up, and we'll be ready to go. All right guys, we're nice and done here. Everything's tightened down. Now I'm just gonna have to put the wheel back on and we're ready to go. And for some of y'all wondering if you need alignment afterwards, now honestly probably not, because we didn't mess with the tie rod, but we could have messed with the angles. As a mechanic and all my mechanic friends out there watching, obviously CYA. So let's get this wheel on. Thanks for watching guys. Please like and subscribe, more videos to come.